It is time for another garden tour. It's the middle of June right now. I think it's June 14th to be exact. So it's a perfect day to walk through the garden and show you guys how everything is progressing. These are my favorite videos to make. They're my favorite videos to watch. I watched my garden tour from last year before walking out here in the garden today, just to see a little bit of a comparison. And it's just so much fun to see how much the garden progresses each month, and then also comparing to the year before. If this is the first video you're seeing of mine, welcome to the More Than Gardening YouTube channel. My name is Sam. I garden here in Michigan, Zone 6A. I've got about, I think, 15 raised beds in my garden, and then I also have 10 grow bags. We have 2 peach trees we added this year, a beehive, and a special addition we just added to the garden earlier this week, which I will show you guys towards the end of this video. Before we jump right into the tour, I do want to take a minute and just say thank you to everybody that showed us so much support on our last video when Dylan and I announced that I am pregnant and we're having a little baby in October. So thank you so much for all the kind words in the comments on my last video. I honestly was just like, oh my gosh, people are so kind and so nice. I wasn't quite expecting all of that, so thank you so much. So to start the tour, I'm gonna start with this little section. These are more of like the cool weather crops that, I don't know, probably the next tour might not even be here because they're getting pretty close to either harvesting or bolting. I've got 10 grow bags here, and everything you see in this video, like raised bed, grow bags, cages, things like that, seeds, I'll link in the description. So if you're curious about anything you're seeing, check out the description of this video. I'll have everything linked. But these grow bags here have 3 bags of, this is like a loose leaf lettuce. There are a ton of seeds in these bags, and honestly, too many in my opinion. I always go a little crazy with, I think it's called gourmet lettuce. I just sprinkle all the seeds and then they go nuts. The back row behind that is all kale, which honestly is looking really good. There's been no issues with like cabbage moths or anything yet on those, so I'm super happy with the kale. And then these 4 over here are spinach. I've got 2 that are looking good. Honestly, this could be eaten right now. I love growing spinach because it's a super quick green from seed to maturity. It's like 30 days. And as soon as you start seeing these leaves, you can eat them as baby spinach. So I've got 2 here that are ready to go. This one's got some new seedlings popped up for a good like succession sowing. And then this one I just planted, so we'll have this one as soon as we eat through these ones. This bed over here is my first one of broccoli. First year growing broccoli, and I'm really excited with how everything looks. We just started getting little broccoli heads pop up, which weren't showing in my last tour. I think that one is probably one of the smaller ones. This one over here is definitely the biggest. I cannot wait for this to just, I'm excited to see how big it gets. It's honestly, I don't want to say doubling in size, but every single morning when we walk out here in the garden, we look at this broccoli head and it's like way bigger than it was the day before. Like I don't know if that's got to be normal. I mean, I've never grown this before, so I don't really know, but it's just growing so fast. And like the kale, there's no issues with cabbage moths or cabbage worms. I'm very surprised. I was expecting to be in a war with pests this year with my broccoli, but so far so good. I don't know how long my luck will last, but for now I'm enjoying it. This next bed is my romaine lettuce, and this romaine is ready to harvest. I've actually already harvested it twice, and it just keeps coming back like fuller and fuller. And this lettuce tastes absolutely amazing. This is gonna be a staple from now on. I did a little experiment 2 weeks ago, I think, where I was trying to figure out what the best way to harvest this was between just pulling the outer leaves and then cutting the whole entire head like 2 inches above. You can see this one I harvested right here and then it still grew back. And then this is an example of one where I just did the outer leaves and it still grew back. So both methods work great. If I have a recommendation, it'd probably be just harvest the outer leaves and let the middle one stay and keep on growing. But this is due to be harvested again today. We'll probably have it for dinner. And then the whole row behind the lettuce are my snapdragons. They're a little behind compared to last year, but they are starting to open up. These ones are white, and honestly, they might be my favorite just because they have a little bit of yellow on the inside, which I think is super, super pretty. And then these ones are more yellow. These ones are a nice little shade of purple, and they're just so vibrant. So super happy with the snapdragon starting to come to life in the garden. This next bed is broccoli as well. And then I also did some kale in between. We've got a kale there. We've got a big one here and just a few more kind of spread out. This bed of broccoli isn't doing as well as the other one in terms of like size, but I am starting to see broccoli heads pop up. We've got one there. We've got one in that back one. Honestly, I think 3 out of 6 have heads of broccoli. And the one I'm most proud of, honestly, is this one right here. It's the smallest one. But this one, if you guys remember, was like so tiny and like dying and totally like bright purple because it was struggling so much in the beginning of the season. I almost pulled it like 3 different times. And honestly, I just got lucky that I didn't because I just got busy and forgot about it and was like, whatever, I'll leave it. But it has totally grown back. I don't know if I'm actually gonna get a broccoli head out of this before it's gonna bolt, because by the time it starts putting, by the time it starts growing like a broccoli head, it'll probably be too hot. But I'm so proud of this plant. I'm keeping it no matter what. This next bed is my first bed of onions. This is all red onions, and you can kind of see that they are starting to bulb a little bit here. If I move this easy straw, you'll see a little bit of a bulbing onion. And then this one too, I think if I move this, you'll see that that one's starting to bulb. This whole bed looks absolutely ridiculous. The winds we have been facing here in Michigan this spring have just turned these into a tangled mess. That back bed over there is also onions. They're all my yellow onions, and it's honestly just as messy. So if your onions look like this too, honestly, I wouldn't be too worried about it. I feel like mine probably looked like this last year too. I'll have to look back on some photos, but as long as if they're bent over a little bit, like this one, it's fine. As long as the necks aren't broken, you don't have anything to worry about because they're still bulbing, they're still growing, they're still getting nutrients. It's nothing to worry about. It's unflattering and kind of ugly to look at a tangled mess, but it's just the way it is, and you can't control nature all the time and you can't control the wind. So I'm not super worried about it. Also in this onion bed, I just planted cantaloupe seeds. Now, so far, everything you've seen in the garden is pretty much on track, on time. I'm happy with the timing of everything. Some of the summer crops, specifically the seeds that I just sowed, I want to say 2 weeks ago, those I'm a little bummed about because we had such cold weather in May. I couldn't plant my seeds as early as I usually do. I usually sow these seeds in like the middle of May. I just planted them 2 weeks ago, which was end of June. So I don't know, 2 weeks behind, but I still think it's fine overall for the year, but some of the summer stuff is a little bit behind, including this cantaloupe. I've got one seedling coming up right here. I've got another one in here that you can't see yet, but it should be sprouting like any day now. This one's here coming up. I've got 2 here, and then I should have one here. I don't see it yet, but we'll be patient and give it some time. I also have cantaloupe on this side of the trellis as well. These ones aren't coming up as good. I think that's, I don't know. I think that was one and maybe roly-poly got to it. I don't know what's going on in here. There should be at least 2 or 3 more. There's one there, and then there was one here, and then something bit its head off. So I don't know. I did start some backup seeds in seed trays on my deck, I think 2 days ago. Basically everything that I direct sow, so cantaloupe, cucumbers, squash, some flowers, and some beans. I usually don't do this. I always just sow the seeds and they're great, but because they're so late this year, I needed a little bit of like an insurance policy. So I did start some seeds in like 6 cell trays up on my deck. So if these cantaloupe don't survive and don't make it, I do have backups, which now seeing the state of them, that so many got kind of their heads bitten off, I am happy that I did that. This bed here is one that is definitely behind. This is all of my peppers, and then I've got a few marigolds on the outside. I also sowed, oh gosh, what is it? I want to say cilantro. Yeah, I did a whole row of cilantro here. These seeds are super easy to grow and always germinate well, so I didn't do any backups of these, especially because they're already sprouting and looking great. And I always do cilantro on the outside border of my pepper beds, just because I use them with my peppers in salsa, and I like to pair up the herbs and the plants together in the same bed, that like the ones I'm going to cook together, and they do a really good job of warding off some pests. So got my row of cilantro there, and then this whole bed, this is bell peppers, Jimmy Nardellos, Poblanos, and Serranos, I believe. And these are like a month behind. Honestly, the size that they're at now was the size of the plants I planted last year in the middle of May. So they're definitely a month behind. They got totally stunted by all that cold weather we had in May. Some of them are recovering, like this one looks pretty good. That one in the middle looks decent. These are my serranos, which super hot peppers, they like hotter weather. And we've had some hotter days, but they're really struggling. I have been fertilizing pretty well just to help my peppers get back on track, but I don't know. I think they're gonna be fine eventually. It's just, they're really, really behind. But just like that side, I had the cilantro. I've got some cilantro here coming up. And then along this trellis, I've got my pickling cucumbers. You can see a little seedling here who has a bite taken out of it by a bug, but that's okay. And then over here, there should be one coming up here and here, hopefully today or tomorrow. I've got one here, got a nice big one here, and two nice big ones here. And then I've also got little seedlings I just noticed. I totally forgot. I planted some dill right there and it's popping up. So that was a nice little surprise. I didn't even know. This next bed, I have slicing cucumbers. They're the Market More variety along this trellis. I've got, looks like two here. Oh, cute. This one's still got the little seed attached to it. That will probably pop off like later today. And then I've got two here. And then I've got two here. And it looks like two here. This row actually looks pretty good. I probably, well, I know for sure, I definitely put seeds here that didn't pop up, but that's not that big of a deal. And then this bed also has peppers as well. And these peppers are doing great. I honestly am just noticing right now that this one here, this one, I think these are either jalapenos or banana peppers. I don't remember. We will find out in the next tour when they're probably putting on actual peppers, but these ones look good. And then down the middle here are all my tomatillos. And I am shocked by the tomatillos this season. I grew tomatillos in grow bags last year and had them along the fence line. And this is like clear evidence to if you give tomatillos the amount of sun they need and I guess the amount of space, because they've got way more space in this bed, they're getting way more sun in this bed, they just explode. I planted, I think 10. Yeah, I did 2 rows of 5 here. And I think a few of you commented on my last garden tour and were like, that's a lot of tomatillos, like they're gonna take over. And I didn't realize it because mine didn't do as well last year as they're already doing now. In hindsight, maybe should have just done 1 row of 5 down the middle, because this is a lot of tomatillos and they're really big and they're crazy, but they're doing super well. And it's so nice to have, honestly, something doing really well for a summer crop because the peppers look so bad so far. Along the border of this bed, I also have some dill sown that's starting to pop up and cilantro. And then I've got some marigolds. I've got some hotter peppers on this side. You can see this one is getting nice and dark green and starting to bush out. And this one is bushing out like crazy. I think this is a Thai chili. Judging by how bushy this one is and this one, I have a feeling they're Thai chilies, but these are doing well. This one, it's a little pale, but I think it'll be fine. And then this one is doing decent. All along the border of this trellis are pole beans or green beans. I grow Kentucky Wonders. They're absolutely delicious. And they are getting eaten by pests, which is a little bit of a bummer. This one got destroyed. So did this one. I haven't had problems like this in the past. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but again, I did plant some backup seeds of these that are on my deck. And the backup seeds are great because if you grow them into a big enough seedling, like, I don't know, maybe this big, they're too big for like roly-poly and insects to really destroy. And they're growing so fast at that point that they outpace them. So if you plant seedlings, you really don't have to worry about it. It's more like when seeds sprout and then the bugs get to them while they're so young and so fragile that they can't really recover from. So I might end up replacing some of those, but we'll see. This other side of the bed is also pole beans. These are a little bigger, so I guess they're outpacing the bugs, but they are getting eaten here and there. I haven't had these problems in the past, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on. I don't know if it's just the difference of planting them 2 weeks later where there's just different bugs like up and active, but it's definitely a bummer. Also in this bed along that front side are green beans as well, but these are all a bush variety. So the pole beans that are along the trellis, they're vining. They'll grow up along the trellis and fill out the whole trellis, where the bush beans will grow into a bush, I think around like a foot tall. And then I've got in the middle of this bed, zinnias planted. You can see some zinnias coming up here, one here. This is a weed. some zinnias here, 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 and just kind of scattered. Then we got another bush bean, all these here, and then these are more peppers. I think I've got more Thai chilies here and some cayennes, and kind of like, I don't know, kind of like the same vibe as the other ones. They're not doing great. We're about to have really hot weather this coming week. I think each day is in like the 80s and one day is in the 90s. So I'm hoping that heat just like gives them what they need to start growing and thriving, because they're making me kind of sad. I had such an amazing pepper year last year. Part of me is like, maybe I just don't deserve a good pepper year this year because it was so good last year, but I'm still holding out hope that something good will happen. But along this trellis, I've got loofah is that first seed that's getting absolutely, I mean, this one's done. This got eaten by roly-polies or something. I don't know. This one is a pumpkin. This is also a pumpkin. And I think this is a pumpkin. And then after that, around here somewhere, that's a weed. Should be a little acorn squash popping up any day now. But I've got 2 acorn squashes here. There's one here you can't even see because it got eaten. And then another acorn squash here. So by the next tour, these will be much bigger though. I feel like once they get to like, I don't know, what is that, like 2.5, 3 inches, they just take off. So really looking forward to this giant trellis being filled out, because that is gonna be really exciting. I told you guys that loofah over there was dying. I'm sad about it, but I'm kind of over it, because this one over here is doing really well. It's putting on nice big green leaves, and it's gotten much bigger since I transplanted it a couple weeks ago. I've also got some Japanese cucumbers here. Once these get a little bigger, I'll probably thin them down to just one plant. That way they're not too crowded. And then I've got pumpkin here, here. Wow, I've got a lot of pumpkins. I did not realize how many I did, but I've got all of these are little pumpkins for making pies. I think they're like sugar pie variety or something. And then starting over here, I have another little weed. Starting over here, I have butternut squash. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I know I put a seed in here. Maybe it's just not germinating. I don't know. I'll probably transplant one of the seedlings from my deck here in the next couple weeks. We'll see. And then over here, I've got more of those bush beans. And then along the border here, I have nasturtiums. I have never grown nasturtiums before, but I'm really excited for them. I have heard that they're really good for deterring pests, and they're great for the borders. I think they'll hang over these beds just a little bit, but they germinated much faster than I thought. I was nervous about them because some folks were telling me that you need to soak nasturtium seeds before sowing them. And I didn't do that. I found out after I planted them. So I was like, oh great, they're not gonna germinate. But I've had really good germination rates with them. I mean, I've got all of those spots that I put seeds. I think that's what, 5, they all came up. So very excited for those ones. And then just like the other bed, I've got a bunch of zinnias in the middle. Definitely put way too many seeds here. All of these are gonna end up getting thinned down to 1. So I regret wasting so many seeds there, because there's a few other spots in this bed where nothing came up and I'm out of seeds. I would have loved to have leftover zinnia seeds to drop some, like, I don't know, in here, or just other bare spots, but I'll probably just fill those gaps with more beans. And then here along this border, these are all bush beans. This is lavender, and this is lavender. It's dying. It's doing so bad. If it doesn't start rebounding in the next like 2 to 3 weeks, I'm gonna pull it, and I'm probably gonna put more nasturtiums down, because I mean, if it's dying, it's just wasted garden space. This next bed over here is the first of my tomatoes. I've got 10 San Marzanos in here, 2 rows of 5, and they're being held up by a Florida weave. And then I've got some marigolds just on the outside for pest control. And then down here, I started a few more marigold seeds. These are French marigolds. The French marigolds are my favorite variety. I have heard they're the best of the marigolds for pest control. I don't know for sure. It's just what I've always grown. There's a little French marigold in here. I don't know if you can see it. They're the type of plant I have noticed that they kind of germinate really quickly, and they're quick through like the initial seedling phase, and then they really slow down. They kind of slow down a lot when you transplant them, and then they just explode. So even though this one's really small right now, I feel like it's gonna be completely fine. I've got another one down here that is definitely further along, still not huge, but putting on really beautiful yellow flowers. And then another variety of marigolds I have, this is my first year growing these ones. It's like a Pacific something, I'll have it in the description. This one is just like really bushing out and getting so big. I was not expecting it, but it's doing really well and I absolutely love this one. And then I've got another marigold here. I think this was like the white African Kilimanjaro. Putting on a lot of greenery. Looks like blooms are coming, but they're not as like flowery or bloomy as the other ones yet. So I gotta just be patient and wait and see how those look once they're fully blooming. But other than that, the San Marzanos are looking really, oh, what's our little friend there doing?
Look at all the pollen.
Oh my gosh, there's so much pollen on his little legs. Okay. Little bee friend, maybe he's taking a morning nap. We'll let him be. Okay, moving on. I've got a Thai basil plant here, really small, really miniature. It'll get bigger. This here is what we call a weed. Goodbye. And then this here is more, I'm pretty sure this is more Thai basil that I started, or it's regular basil. No, this is Thai basil, definitely, because I wanted another extra one there. This next tomato bed is my slicing tomatoes. So I've got this row here of Cherokee purples, and then that back row there are my beefsteaks. This is a French marigold as well, so just like those yellow ones I was showing you, but it's just different colors. These are probably my favorite because they're just so beautiful. They look like fire almost. And then I've got, oh, I didn't even realize how good this basil plant was doing. If you go back to my May tour, you will see how pathetic my basil looked then. And now, I mean, it's not huge, but it's doing really well. So I'm very happy with how that's looking. Over here, another marigold plant. These Cherokee purples are looking amazing. Again, if you go back to my May tour, you will see how bad these looked. They had really purple stems, really light green leaves. They were so cold because it was freezing for absolutely no reason here in Michigan. And now they are just fully recovered, thriving. I have like no worries now about my tomatoes. I feel like they're pretty much right on track. Over here, I've got some parsley that's looking good. I'm actually about to harvest some of this tomorrow to use in some homemade coleslaw. So I'm very excited for that. Got more marigolds coming up here. And then again, these are all of my beefsteak tomatoes. This Florida weave, I have a tutorial on my YouTube channel already. I'll make sure to tag the video. This is my favorite way to trellis indeterminate tomatoes. And I think, just to give you like an idea of how fast these tomatoes are growing, I think I put this layer in, when was that, Dylan? Was that like Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday?
Your dad stopped by.
It was like either Tuesday or Wednesday. I put this layer of Florida weave in, and this tomato actually barely just reached it. This tomato is right at the height of this one. I was a little worried about it, but it's just the smallest one in the row. So since, we'll say Tuesday, because I can't remember exactly, and today's Saturday, it has grown this much. I mean, that is a lot for a tomato plant. And this is a slow grower. This one here, when I put the Florida weave in, was only about, honestly, it was like here. And now look at all that growth in less than a week. I am so happy with the tomatoes here. I feel like they're right on track. And then again, a giant marigold plant. You guys, I need some help. I have no idea. Like, I did not know that these, I've never grown them. I didn't know they were just gonna explode. And I mean, this one probably needs to be deadheaded, but I mean, look at how beautiful these blooms are. Before I move on to the rest of the raised beds, we're gonna take a little detour to show you how our peach trees are doing and our honeybees. This is the first of 2 of our peach trees, and I think it's getting a little taller. It looks decent. I think this is another thing in our garden that just kind of suffered from the cold weather. We planted these last month in May. I can't remember the exact date. Actually, I can remember. I think it was like May 9th or May 11th. Those 2 days are sticking out at me, which would be a month ago. And then as soon as we planted them, we had like 2 or 3 weeks of really cold weather. So I think that didn't do the peach tree any favors, but it's doing pretty good. I do think there's new leafy green on here. And we did take, if you remember from last month's tour, the little peach that was hanging here that I wanted to take off and Dylan was like not letting me take off. We did take off. This tree is way too small to be supporting fruit. So that peach is gone. Now the other peach tree over here is kind of the same vibe. It's doing decent. It's not exploding by any means, but I do think over these next few weeks, once it starts getting really, really warm here, this is just going to explode and come into its own and be really, really a nice tree. So I'm happy with the peach trees. Our honeybees over here have been doing really well. We just did an inspection maybe last weekend or the weekend before, and it was like our best inspection we've ever done. We were able to get in and out in like 12 minutes, I think, which is a record for us. We found our queen, she was laying, we found larvae, we found fresh nectar. It was honestly just a really successful inspection. We'll probably do another one like next week or the week after. But the bees have honestly, they've been so chill this year. Our bees during our inspection were way calmer than they ever were last year. So I don't know if we just have a chiller queen or chiller drones or just a chiller hive, or maybe that's just the difference between getting a box and a nuke. But they were super easy when we did our inspection, and it made everything just go so smooth. So very happy with the bees so far, and I'm hopeful we'll actually have a successful season. I'm still like praying no swarming this year. We need to have a good year with these bees. Back up to the raised beds here. This is the first of 3 beds of Roma tomatoes. And this one is the best bed of Romas, I think, because it gets the most sun. This one right here, I literally did not notice this until right before Dylan hit record. It has a couple of tomatoes. So I am really, really happy with those. I did not think I'd be seeing tomatoes in June just because of how stunted these all got with that cold weather, but that is a really, really good sign. And then I don't think there's any more tomatoes on the rest of them, but who knows what's hiding in them because Romas get so crazy and bushy. These cages are doing a really good job keeping them upright and keeping them kind of just like contained and off the ground. But yeah, these are looking good. I've got those same marigolds on the borders of these beds. And then I think I planted some more seeds in here, but none of them are popping up. So I don't know where I put them, or even if I did. Along this corner here, I've got a nice little parsley plant, just like in that other tomato bed. I'm very happy with this. I'll definitely be harvesting this very soon. But along this backside, again, just 4 more Romas. I've got 8 Roma tomatoes per bed. This is my second bed of Romas. Same situation as the last one. 2 rows of 4 marigolds on the outside. And then this third one over here, this is my struggle bed so far for tomatoes. This bed gets the least amount of sun, and I knew that. I didn't realize like how much less it really got. And there is a part of me that wants to go back to like my planting film when I planted these beds out. And I want to see if the seedlings that I put in here were shorter or smaller, because I can't believe the sun would have that much an effect, because I don't think this gets that much less sun, but something's clearly going on because, well, this one looks good. So maybe it's just a plant thing, but like that one back there is really small. The one next to it is pretty small. And then like these 2 here, these are pretty small. So I don't know, maybe a combination of things between not getting as much sun and maybe just being smaller plants. But then you got this guy over here in the corner who's just, he's tall, he's exploding, he's thriving. Overall, happy with the tomatoes. I think they're gonna be just fine. And then walking through, again, this was just our little seating area. We've got flowers back there that kind of struggling with all the wind and the cold, but they'll bounce back. This is that yellow onion bed that I showed you guys in the beginning, very similar to the red onions. I haven't found any yet that are like as obvious that they're starting to bulb, but I think here you can kind of see it's starting to. This one right here looks really thick. I wonder if it's just buried a little too deep. I don't know. Once they start to bulb, like an obvious bulb like those red onions were, I like to go through and take my finger and just kind of like move the dirt and move the easy straw out of the way to just give them a little bit more room. But these ones still have a little bit of ways to go. I'll probably be harvesting them in mid-July, so maybe in a month. And then this bed over here, our last raised bed, is sunflowers and zucchini. You can see the sunflowers are blooming and they're really, really pretty. There's little bugs here and there. Don't know what they're doing, but this is, I think it's like red Rouge or red Rogue. It's like red something. I'll have it captioned, or I'll have it listed in the description. And then my last tour, I only had these 3. I had this one, and then that last one. And I said I was gonna put sunflower seeds in between. I did not put sunflower seeds. They did not grow that fast. I found this sunflower seedling and this sunflower seedling like, oh gosh, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. They're Goldy honey sunflowers, so they're gonna get like 5 or 6 feet tall. And I just like had, I don't know, like a brain fart, I guess, when I was planting. I forgot about these. And I had the seedlings like stored away with a tray of tomatillos, and they were just like mixed in with the tomatillos so much that I just thought they were tomatillos. I don't know. And then when I planted the tomatillos, I didn't plant these because they didn't look as strong as a tomatillo. So I thought they were just like dead tomatillo plants. And then one day I was just staring at them because they were still in their little seedling trays in like our little like Florida room that we have. And I was just staring at them, and it was like a literal light bulb went off my head. And I was like, oh my gosh, those are my sunflower seedlings. Those are my Goldy honeys that I never planted. And I like ran out here and I planted them, and now they're doing great. I mean, they're probably not gonna bloom anytime soon just because they have to get so tall still, but I'm really excited for these ones. And then in this bed, I also have my zucchini that I sowed 2 weeks ago. So I've got 2 little seedlings here coming up, 2 here. These will be thinned down to just 1 seedling once they get a little bit bigger. And then I've got the 2 there, I've got 1 there, and then 2 at the end there. The last thing I want to show you guys is something that we just planted on Tuesday or Wednesday of this past week. So very fresh, very new addition to the garden, and I am so excited. We planted 10 raspberry bushes right along this fence line. I can up a ton of raspberry jam every year, and honestly, I'm just sick of having to pay for raspberries either from like farmers markets or the store. They're really expensive fruit, and I have raspberry jam almost every single day, so it just made sense to bring these to our property. We planted these about 3 feet apart, and then we left about 4 feet between the actual plants and the fence line. You can plant them right up against the fence, but we didn't want them to be like falling over into our neighbor's property, so that's why we left that gap. And then we went ahead, once we planted them, we added like a layer of compost on top, and then we did weed fabric and some mulch. I think eventually we maybe will add like a little border around the mulch, maybe like rocks or stones or something to like pretty the space up. But for now, this is what we did, and I think it looks really good. I'm really excited for these raspberries. I just posted a video this morning on my Instagram saying that I planted these, and so many people are already commenting like, 10? Like you planted 10? Like those are gonna multiply, like you're gonna have an insane amount of raspberries. So we'll see if or when that happens. We'll see if it becomes too much, but for now, I'm happy with them. I was Googling and it said like 4 to 5 raspberry bushes per person, and there's 2 of us right now, soon to be 3, but I thought 10 was a good number. But we'll see if they go too crazy. I don't know. You can never have enough raspberries. That wraps it up for the entire garden, including the peach trees, the bees, and the raspberry bushes. I hope you'd enjoyed this tour. If this was the first video you've seen of mine, I hope you liked it. And if you want to see more gardening content, make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, please leave a like, leave any comments or questions you have in the comment section. Again, I will link everything that you've pretty much seen in this video, like seeds, grow bags, raised beds, tomato cages, and a few other things in the description of the video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at morethangardening, TikTok at morethangardening_, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.